There are many mysteries and theories surrounding the Egyptian pyramids. Many researchers are convinced that representatives of an advanced civilization were involved in the construction of the pyramids. And some are even sure that the pyramids were built by aliens. And now Egyptian buildings periodically communicate with their builders. How does it happen? You're about to find out. This is Infinity, and in this episode I'll tell you what kind of signal the Egyptian pyramids send out every 10 years, as well as share other mysterious signals that will impress you. Let's go! Many scientists, more than once, wondered why the ancient pyramids were built deep in the desert. After all, it would be very expensive to carry all necessary building materials, which included not only limestone and sandstone but also granite. There is quite a remarkable fact about the latter. Crystals of granite are capable of storing a large amount of information and can be used for energy conservation. Moreover, granite is a rare rock which contains crystal quartz in its composition. Outer stone blocks of the pyramid are made of sandstone, a material that also contains a large amount of quartz. Quartz is a unique mineral that generates piezoelectricity when it's compressed. After studying these properties, scientists managed to put forward new theories. One of them says that the mass of the pyramid presses on itself, and thus a constant electric current is created. Even more curious fact for scientists was that when looking at the pyramid from above, it's possible to notice that stones are stacked spirally, and they look like wrapping. It seems that the pyramid design is not only accidental, but also created for realization of certain purposes. According to one theory, the Great Pyramid of Giza is a device for interstellar communication, and the pyramids themselves are directed to the constellation of Orion for a reason. This was done on purpose to honor the memory of the gods who came in ancient times from this constellation. Perhaps then Earth was of such great interest to the aliens, and they decided to leave behind a trace in the form of a communication device. According to the versions of many scientists, it was the Great Pyramid of Giza that became such an object. The conjectures are confirmed not only by research and analysis of the materials from which the pyramid is built, but also by its very interior and exterior structure. It's worth paying attention to the passages inside the pyramid and to its concave part. Engineers claim that it's very reminiscent of the construction of a satellite dish. Do researchers really have good reason to make all these assumptions? Of course, in theory, all of this may not be true, but the fact is that the modern civilization is relatively recently confronted with the manifestation of the pyramid's activity. It started in April 2002. Late at night, an ordinary shepherd was preparing for sleeping, prepared his bed, and was about to fall asleep when suddenly he was awakened by a piercing sound, like the scraping of stones and iron. When he opened his eyes, he saw a shocking picture that made him stunned. It was from the Great Pyramid of Giza that a bright, powerful beam of light emanated. He couldn't see the end of the beam. It went far into the starry sky. After a couple of minutes, the same grinding sound was heard again, and the beam instantly disappeared. There was a loud silence, and after some more time, the Egyptian saw a man of enormous stature coming out through the pyramid. There was no passage where he had come from. According to the words of the shepherd, the height of the rapidly appearing and quickly disappearing stranger was at least 8.2 feet. The night was accompanied by a series of strange events that followed. After about half an hour, a police detachment arrived at Giza, and then representatives of the Egyptian Secret Service, Muhabara, as they identified themselves to the police, pulled up to the scene. Shortly thereafter, the police left the scene. Shortly afterwards, air help arrived in the form of several helicopters and some trucks from which armed soldiers disembarked. On the orders of a member of the security service, the soldiers surrounded the pyramids. Onlookers from the surrounding area began to gather at the scene. They too must have noticed the strange phenomena that had happened to the pyramids and were curious as to what it was. Journalists presented the story as student bullying, as if a group of young people climbed the pyramid at night and decided to have some fun, making a bright light show with a powerful flashlight. And the police promptly arrived at the scene, arrested the pranksters. There was no further information from the official authorities about the incident. Nevertheless, from knowledgeable sources, it became known what happened after that night. The very next morning, the U.S. Embassy called the Egyptian Foreign Ministry and offered to help investigate the case. Of course, such insistence was explained by the U.S. State Department. The interest in investigating the young vandals was that the Americans hold sacred and have a deep respect for the history of ancient Egypt, and wouldn't want to lose such a valuable historical cultural treasure. Later, on April 15th, it became known that all work in Giza had been suspended. But after a while, American archaeologists were noticed there, carrying out some work. It's not known exactly how they've been allowed to investigate the pyramids, but there's an assumption that money has decided everything in the story. But there's a second version. It consists that the Egyptians have entered into cooperation with the Americans, and the latter had the latest advanced equipment. Later, their research stopped and the U.S. scientists could no longer be in the closed territory. It's known that during archaeological excavations, an amazing artifact was discovered, which was seized from the Americans by the Egyptian intelligence services. It's not known exactly what kind of artifact it was. We only know that it was probably of alien origin, as it was found on the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza after the incident. The fact that the pyramid's a giant transceiver has long been talked about. Nevertheless, it's still not clear how it's turned on and for what purpose. And if we take into account that modern science has not yet recorded such emissions, it's possible that soon we'll see this ancient structure in action once again and finally understand what it was built for. What do you think? Could the pyramids really be transmitters? Or is their true purpose something else? Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned. Further in this episode are the most exciting and interesting signals we've received from outer space. Recorded radio signal from space. On April 29, 2019, a radio telescope in Australia was pointed at our closest galactic neighbor, the Alpha Centauri system, or more specifically, Proxima Centauri, a small red dwarf about 8 times smaller than our Sun. It was on that fateful day that scientists may have recorded the first evidence of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Scanning Proxima Centauri for signs of flares, the Parkes Observatory radio telescope detected something else entirely. Something unique was hidden among the radio interference emitted by the red dwarf. A single narrow-band transmission at 982.02 MHz. Moreover, the signal was recorded during 5 half-hour sessions. On these grounds, scientists have concluded that the signal is unique and could potentially be of alien origin. Cosmic phenomena almost always produces broadband signals, and so far only humans are known to use narrowband radio signals, plus it was repeated more than once. The signal was detected by researchers working as part of an initiative of a program aimed at detecting intelligent alien life. This program includes a study of more than 1 million stars in our galaxy and even more than 100 galaxies outside the Milky Way. Because aliens may attempt to communicate by means other than radio, this program also uses particularly sensitive telescopes to search for laser signals among the light emitted by millions of stars. Mysterious radio signal from outer space. In early 2020, Canadian scientists conducting a hydrogen intensity experiment published an article announcing an interesting discovery. They found a special frequency signal that was repeated about every 16 days. These fast radio bursts are sudden, large pulses of radiation that burst from somewhere outside our galaxy. Although they last a fraction of a second, they consume an enormous amount of energy, millions of times more than our Sun emits. Imagine that you're standing on the roof of your house and your friend is standing about 1,000 miles away. He's shouting "hello" to signal you. Think about how loud he would have to yell for you to hear him. Now imagine this communication scenario magnified billions and trillions of times, and you get an idea of how much radiation the signal must emit for our radio telescopes on Earth to detect it. Surprisingly, the detected signal is quite stable. After a year of observations, researchers have been able to confirm that it has a distinct pattern, with the signal emitting 1 or 2 bursts every hour for 4 days. Then it goes silent for 12 days and then reappears. From September 16, 2018 to October 30, 2019, 28 separate clusters of signal bursts were recorded. Some scientists have already put forward theories about its origin. Such periodicity may be caused by the gravitational influence of some neighboring objects. According to another version, the signals may be periodically blocked by the tidal forces of a black hole. At the very beginning of September 2019, a report published by a group of astrophysicists from the University of Sydney appeared in a respected astronomical publication. The article says that scientists recorded a powerful radio signal from an unknown source located a short distance from the center of our galaxy. Observing it for several months, the researchers recorded its characteristics. The frequency of the signal was 888 MHz, but it turned out to be very erratic. It emits radio waves for weeks and then quickly disappears. When astronomers detect such radiation, they start scanning this region of space and other bands to determine what kind of object it is – a star, a black hole, or something else. They did so this time too, but it turned out that the mysterious source emits neither X-rays nor infrared rays. Scientists are in no hurry to draw conclusions. They only state that they do not yet understand what they're dealing with. Perhaps this source belongs to a completely new class of cosmic objects, which we haven't yet observed. Astrophysicists are generally cautious people and make hasty statements very rarely. That's all, guys. Do you believe that aliens are trying to communicate with us? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.